How to have the aura of God. There seems to be individuals in this world that just have this indescribable attraction towards them. And this can be extrapolated beyond just relationships, because when we're talking about cultivating the aura of God, which is nothing more than this particular degree of magnetism, this goes into life force, energy, electromagnetic fields, and a whole bunch of other things. But individuals that possess this aura have an ability to magnetize things that other people just can't seem to do. We all know individuals like, and we think to ourselves, how do they do it? Why are they like that? And once you have the ability to cultivate a magnetic aura, you kind of possess a key to life in your hands, because when you really simplify life, in a societal context, life is just about people. Once you have the ability to magnetize and attract people in whatever realm it is that you desire, you quite literally possess the key to success in your life. And as you can see in my drawings, come on, this is some of my best work. This is genuinely some of my best work. I don't know why this nigga he looks a bit, there's just something off about him.
It's dark.
There's something off about him. I don't know what it is that's off about him, but right. Anyways, let's get into it.
I'll spend 40 minutes doing that just to rub it off.
And see, that's the most painful part, because I'll really be drawing this for like 40 minutes just to wipe it off in a couple seconds. AJ ain't even lying. She wearing short skirts, I wearing t-shirts. She's cheer captain and
I'm on the bleachers.
Dreaming about the day when you wake up and find that what you're looking for has been here the whole time. You can see that I'm the one who understands you. See, niggas don't really know that deep down. I'm really, what do they call them? A Swiftie? Is that what they call them?
Oh, I thought he was going to say a coconut.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow. So just because I'm from the hood, I have to like straight hood music.
Hey,
can't even enjoy some good
Taylor Swift have some real bangers.
She's had some, bro.
Real
I'm
bangers
telling you,
and longevity.
Bro, I'm telling you, you don't even want to go there, bro.
You can't even talk bad on Taylor anyway. You'll get cancelled.
Yeah. That's why I said I ain't, like, you know what I'm saying? I seen people go to a concert and break down in tears. And I'm like, raw, that's serious.
Someone DM'd you saying, not gonna lie, the fact she speak like this with no script is almost insane to me. Bro articulates himself so well, no glaze. That's glaze.
Thank you very much.
Glaze.
It's not glaze. I think reading so many different books, you expose yourself to different ways of saying things, vocabulary, and it just kind of becomes ingrained. Okay, guys, I remember in the last video, you lot complained about yellow, so I won't use yellow ever again.
Just to throw it all away.
Cool.
Throw away the yellow.
Actually, let me go with green. Perfect. So, let's first begin what I mean when I say the aura of God or God aura. Now, outside the personification, anthropomorphization of God being this personality sat in the sky, which doesn't even make sense, because for God to be sat in the sky, he must have feet on the ground and thighs, and this is nothing more than the third dimensional realm conceptualizations of God in our own human minds being projected into God, which doesn't even make sense, because, you know, a God defined is a God confined, because our third dimensional realm existence in our physical vessels, we limit God in our understanding. So for whatever reason, let's just conceptualize God as the infinite intelligence. Now, what we deem the infinite intelligence is an aspect of you that exists beyond the third dimensional realm. The truth of what I'm saying is beyond illusion. So what we conceptualize God is nothing more than the infinite intelligence, which exists beyond illusion, and it's not confined by the third dimensional realm illusions that we are, such as time, space constraint, or even polarity, for example. It is the most high level of consciousness, once again, which exists within you. As it says in the Bible, the temple of God was not made with hands, and Corinthians will tell you that you are the dwelling place in the temple of God. So God is the most high level of consciousness. Consciousness is nothing more than immaterialized reality. It is quite literally the substance of reality. What we call consciousness is nothing more than an altered degree of matter. What we call matter can be likened to ice. ice in a different rate of vibration becomes steam. Consciousness is steam. Consciousness is also can be associated with your frequency, can also be associated with your self-concept, can also be associated with your imagination. And one thing on imagination in particular is quite funny. When you grow up as a child, you grow up in a world where they make fun of imagination and they kind of diminish imagination. A lot of people don't understand that your beliefs about your degree of imagination or your consciousness is actually what sets up the perimeter or the borders of what you're able to attain. Because if you deem imagination as childish, then you won't be able to utilize your imagination to be able to create anything serious. And that's a bar that down. Think about it like this. They say imagination is make-believe, when the truth of the matter is belief makes. So you have to then give a degree of seriousness to your imagination, because that is the aspect of God. Hence why Einstein said imagination is more important than logic, right? And it all comes down to the understanding of what we mean. So when we're talking about having the aura of God, all I mean is coming to an understanding of a metaphysical or an explanation of aura that exists beyond third dimensional realm constraints. Because a lot of people will make the mistake of thinking, oh, aura is dependent upon how you look. And if you look at it from a point of psychology, that's called the halo effect. But I'm not talking about it. It's not going to be about how you look. It's not going to be about what you say, because as I'll break down further in the video, your frequency speaks before you've even spoken. And that's a bar that down, and I'll come back to that. But when we're talking about aura, it's not going to do with how you look. It's not going to do with how you sound. It's not going to do with how much money you have or your fame, which are all things that we kind of attribute to creations of aura. It's going to be coming from within, as everything should in reality. Because unfortunately, anything that the world gives you, it can also take from you. But what you give to yourself can never be taken. So if the world can give you aura, it can take your aura away from you. But when your aura, or what I'm going to explain from a more degree of spiritual science, comes from within, that's when things change. So that was just kind of like a little introduction, but let's get into it more serious. Make sure you take notes and leave them in the comments. Guys, I can't, to kind of spin back to the point that I made at the start, life is about people. So once you understand how to magnetize people towards you, you quite literally will be able to increase your business. You'll be able to increase the degree of relationships you have, better relationships even materialize opportunities, job opportunities, career promotions, honestly. So this is arguably probably one of the most important videos in my opinion. But yeah, AJ, you were gonna say something. What was you gonna say, my guy?
You're a legend. My calendar in 2 days is fully booked.
Oh, is this a comment from somebody?
Yeah.
I thought you were calling me a legend.
Or like a DM. Well, you are, bro.
Wow.
You are.
Start flirting with me.
Okay. I'll do it off camera. My calendar in 2 days is fully booked. Never before, despite every strategy I tried, watching your videos diligently over the last 10 days or so has not only changed my frequency, but changed my life. Enough respect. If you know, you know. Much appreciation, my brother. The pleasure is all mine. The pleasure is all mine. And yeah, it gets to a certain point where, all these kind of third dimensional realm explanations of things, such as you need to do this, you need to be this, doing never leads to creation. Doing or action does nothing more than facilitate and midwife the energy of your consciousness or frequency into existence. But it can't take you to where you want to be. Hence why strategies and stuff like that don't work. It's exactly why I'm hired by people, because strategies don't work, and people at a certain level understand that. Because once you can alter your frequency, you make strategies and stuff irrelevant. I mean, this makes no sense, but that's what frequency does. It defies rationality. It makes things that don't make sense make sense. But let's get into first what aura has been associated with. So what we conceptualize as aura kind of is associated with many different things across many different systems and many different cultures. So aura can be associated with, not saying it is, but it can be associated with what you call life force energy, which comes from the philosophy of Taoism. It can also be associated with electromagnetic field, which is a more scientific perspective. It can also be associated with an astral or a emotional body that exists,
which is just nothing more than a level of existence that you have. So when we're talking about life force energy is literally the energy that quite literally powers up the world entirely, powers up people. It's what, it's the foundation of creation, it's consciousness. Everything has life force energy, and you're going to have to know how to build life force energy and store it, because the more life force energy you can store, the more aura or magnetism you have, which I'll explain in the video. Electromagnetic field is about understanding which is the most, you have two, but the most powerful one is the heart, which is 60 to 100 times larger than the one of the brain. And the heart is a more powerful source energetically. It's the first organ that you incarnate with on the physical plane. And scientists were puzzled by it for centuries. They couldn't conceptualize, because the brain is kind of like the operating system of the body, but it doesn't make sense. How do we get hearts before brains? And it's because your heart is a more powerful source spiritually and emotionally. And emotion is the language of God, and spiritually is tied to the higher levels of existence, of causality. In the third dimensional realm is nothing more than the realm of effects. And when you tap into the heart, not the brain, it's a combination of both, but more so the heart, you come to find out it kind of links to what we call the emotional body, which is quite literally what it says. Think about it like an accumulation of emotions that you feel output into a particular frequency. And I speak about this all the time. I always say that the base of your frequency, or the largest shareholder of your frequency, is your emotion. And once you understand that, it's due to the fact that emotion is energy motion. Energy motion emits a signature that we call a vibration. Vibration that builds momentum becomes a frequency. Frequency is nothing more than immaterialized reality, and reality is materialized frequency. Frequency can be conceptualized as consciousness, self-concept, self-image, imagination. That materializes into what we call reality in our world. Hence why I always say there's 8 billion people on the planet, there's 8 billion different frequencies, which means there's 8 billion different worlds on one planet. So let's get into it more seriously. Like I said, these will kind of be ticked off as we're going along, so make sure you're paying attention as usual. Bitch, I got my own if I don't need security in the club.
Does this on bootleg, of course?
Crazy. It's mad. It's mad. There's people that are waiting to pirate my book. It's a mad thing. Like, I got a message. This nigga messaged me the other day. They were like, yo, bro, when's your book dropping? And I was like, oh, it's going to drop sometime in the next 2-3 weeks, but I'll give it like an official release date, probably on my IG. I'll post it on my YouTube. And he was like, yeah, I can't wait to pirate it.
Bro has no intention of buying the book.
I said, damn, bro. I said, you're not gonna buy it? He's like, nah, I'm down bad at the moment. I said, all right, cool. Make me a promise. He was like, what? I said, when you use what I tell you in the book and you can afford it, make sure you buy it physically. He said, say less. So I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool. Cool. So there's gonna be a couple points that I go through. As I said, with everything that I just spoke about before, we'll tick them off as we go along. But the first thing that I want to speak about when we're talking about aura is understanding that because life is about people, most of us unconsciously are hiding ourselves from people energetically. And that's what borrow that down. What we conceptualize as aura is this ability to be able to magnetize people. But how can you magnetize and attract people when you're hiding yourself energetically from people? And what do I mean by that? You have to understand that most of us have a fear of being seen. I don't like being seen. I realized this, and I didn't like it for a very long time. I think AJ put in a video that I used to wear a mask even, because I don't like the idea of being seen. I don't like the idea of people knowing me. It makes me really uncomfortable for a multitude of reasons. If you grow up in the ends and you start popping off, you're either gonna get robbed or shanked. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we have a fear of being seen without coming to the understanding that in order for you to possess aura, you need to transcend a fear of being seen. You need to be comfortable with being seen. And this doesn't just exist in the context of social media. I'm not talking about that. I'm even talking about when you step out into the world, because most of us want to attain certain things. We want either new jobs or promotions in our jobs, or we want better businesses. We want to attract people for relationships, or anything else. But how can you do that when you are diminishing your ability to be seen by people? Let's conceptualize aura as a particular degree of light. Let's say people with good, bright auras attract lots of people. But when you have a fear of being seen, you turn down your light. So how could you be seen? So you're the one who's overlooked. You're the one that's counted out. You're the individual, even though you may be qualified, you don't get it. You may be the individual that a person would be good for, and you might want this person, but they overlook you. You might be able to help somebody in a business through your, whatever it is you're delivering, your product or your service, but for whatever reason, they overlook you. Why? It's because you have an unconscious degree of fear of being seen. Now, that fear of being seen will unconsciously lead to self-sabotage and you dimming your own aura, and we, for our example, conceptualize it as light. To reiterate something, how can you magnetize that promotion in your career when you're afraid of being seen? You're dimming your own light. You're overlooked. Now they're not seeing any light towards you. How can you attract that guy or girl when you're dimming your own light and you have a fear of putting yourself out there and being seen? How could you materialize the opportunity of closing a particular client or getting more sales in your business when you're afraid of being seen? Because the truth of the matter is, any type of interaction that we have with people, we have to be seen. But when you have a fear of being seen, you have this particular degree of discomfort with being seen, you then will end up energetically self-sabotaging and dimming your own aura, your light, to avoid being seen. You need to be comfortable with being seen. Because until you can be comfortable with being seen, you will limit the amount of aura that you can emit to the universe. Like say, aura is a light like this. Those individuals who have transcended the fear of being seen possess what we call aura, or they're able to magnetize. Hence why it's typically associated with celebrities, right? People will be like, nah, that celebrity's got aura. That celebrity could be doing fuck all. They could literally not have any aura. They could not even be doing anything crazy, but people will be like, nah, they're magnetic, they've got aura. Why? Because they're comfortable with being seen, because that's part of it. And until you can make comfort with being seen, which is a mental decision that you have to come to in your head with first awareness, because awareness is the first step to any particular degree of transmutation. And until you're aware of a aspect of you that is a fear of being seen, then you won't be seen. And here's the crazy part about me. Like I said, I have a discomfort with being seen. I have a fear of being seen too. We went from 4K subscribers to 100K subscribers in 4 weeks, and then 7 months later now we're at 300K. I did that with still discomfort of being seen. Now I've taken that off. I've now energetically made myself unconsciously more visible to a bunch of whole other people. And it's something that you need to begin to understand too, because life is about people. Life is about people. Say it with me. Life is about people. And if life is about people and you're energetically dimming yourself and making yourself be unseen by people, how could you ever be upset that you're not getting what you want from people? Because unfortunately, in this third dimensional realm, and bear in mind, you're the own source of anything that you can ever materialize. Something that I want to make very clear is that when we're talking about income, when we're talking about business, when we're talking about partners, we're talking about career promotions, you are the only individual that gives you anything. We do nothing more than utilize other people as instruments through which we give things to ourselves. And that's what borrow that down. You might think to yourself, I need to please my boss, to get this promotion so he can give me the promotion, or she. But you have now made your boss an intermediary between you and what it is that you want, without coming to the recognition that you give yourself the promotion. Your boss is nothing more than an instrument of the third dimensional realm in terms of giving you that. It's the same thing with clients. It's the same thing with business. It's the same thing with relationships. It's the same thing everywhere, because the entirety of life is interconnected. One pattern everywhere exists everywhere. Now, how do we get over a fear of being seen? Let me change a different color. The old frequency is funny. It tends to obfuscate information in the way secret societies have done for millennia and centuries, right? They make things more complicated than they have to. Your old frequency will make your progression seem more complicated than it really is. So when you think about moving forward, you're like, how am I going to do it? How do I do this? How do I change my beliefs? How do I do this? It's quite literally a mental decision. It just doesn't feel like a decision, But anytime we begin to speak of feeling, that's how you know it's coming from the old frequency, because your old frequency will utilize your own beliefs against you. And if you want to know if a belief is present, then what do you feel when you begin to attack that particular belief? And I speak about this in my book. I think there's a chapter called You Don't Have Beliefs, Beliefs Have You. And I speak about this inbuilt defense mechanism of beliefs that they have, that when you begin to question beliefs, they begin to make you feel emotions, because emotions are the glue that binds them together. And most of us don't know how to deal with our emotions, so we just shut down any particular degree of rational thinking. You have to mentally decide that you're okay with being seen. It's the only way that I'd probably say it's the first step to cultivating any type of aura. You just need to be comfortable around other people. The second thing that you need to understand is that non-duality. The fear of being seen is nothing more and will lead to nothing more than a fear of yourself. Why? Due to the fact of non-duality, which is nothing more than the idea that outside of this third dimensional realm, the law of polarity doesn't exist. There is no degree of separation. We're all one. When you fear how other people are going to perceive you, you then make the mistake of thinking that that is coming from outside of you, but it's inside of you. And that degree of fear, which is nothing more than ignorant faith. Fear is ignorant faith. Faith in reverse. If faith can move mountains, then fear can create them. God's most loyal servant, Job, had his whole life collapsed because of fear. Family died, business died, crops died, animals died. Why? As he says himself, for what I have greatly feared has come upon me. Fear will always lead to the understanding of what I call the M of the universe, which is magnification. When you have a fear of being seen, the universe will utilize people, conditions, and circumstances to make you feel more fear. You don't understand that the fear that you feel is nothing more than what you are perpetually setting into motion yourself with a fear of being seen. And here's the irony of being seen, right? And I'll probably say this is number 3 when we're talking about a fear of being seen. Listen to me and listen to me very carefully. And I mean this in the most honest way, and I don't mean to say this abrasively, but your fear of being seen is idiotic for the mere fact that nobody will ever see the real you. What do I mean by that? Even when people look at you or experience you or interact with you, it is likely that they are going to come with preconceived notions of you. Those preconceived notions that somebody will have of you limits what they're able to experience from you. What do I mean? Now, for most of you, the idea of seeing some young nigga with a vest and a silver necklace and shades and a do-rag talking this information, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Exactly. Let's believe, I'm sure there's people that have seen me pop up on their, what's it called, a For You page or a homepage, and they're like, nah. Why? Because they have a preconceived notion of what this is supposed to be, what this is supposed to look like, what this is supposed to think like, what this is supposed to act like. People, unfortunately, their preconceived notions limits what they're able to experience from you. So nobody will ever see the real you anyways. I think AJ is one of the best people I've ever met in my life. But my preconceived notion of him being the best person in my life limits him from being the worst person in my life, which he is when we play FIFA. Worst guy.
And table tennis.
And table tennis. He talks crazy shit. Now, the other thing as to why nobody can see the real you ever is due to the fact that their frequency limits what they're able to see anyways. Somebody at a particular frequency lives in a particular world. That particular world molds the way that they see the world without coming to the understanding that their perception is directly interconnected to their projection of reality. So somebody's frequency, where they are, determines what they see. And that's a bar, write that down. Too many of us are afraid of being seen by people without coming to the understanding that some people just may not be on a frequency of positivity. An individual who lives on a frequency of negativity, for example, even in the most positive thing will see negativity. It's like you could see somebody donate, X amount of money to a charity organization. Somebody would be like, yeah, but why didn't you do it here? It's like, what the fuck? It's like, just why? Or yeah, but the rice doesn't even look cooked properly and what the kids are eating. It's like, what? It's like, But your frequency ultimately determines what you see. Somebody with a particular level of consciousness can only see what they are because you cannot see anything in reality other than what you are. So even when somebody looks at you, they're not seeing you, they're seeing themselves based upon where they are from a point of frequency. So that's the first thing when we're talking about aura. It's a fear of being seen. Make sense? Cool. Let's get it crunk up on that, fun up on that. In this dancery, we got your hope and now your low. So yeah,
Got a dance for me.
don't need no hateration. How am I gonna make it? Let's move it.
I'm an older guy, 54. I ran across Nero a year ago or so. I couldn't get into his videos then. Every time he said nigger, it pulled me out of what I was watching. But what I heard resonated with me. I came back repeatedly with the same results. Then at some point, it didn't bother me as much. The wisdom Nero puts out is incredible, especially for someone so young. It amazes me. Now I look for his videos daily. I call it going to church, lol. I watch hour-long videos and want more. I appreciate what you do immensely. My respect and amazement for you is boundless. I think I'm going to start with your first posted video and binge me some Nero. Heart.
What's his name?
Larry Frank. I'm going to butcher that. Just Larry.
Thank you, Larry. That means a lot. Guys, everything I do is very, very intentional. The way that I speak, you have to understand, there's a spiritual archetype that most of you are accustomed to. You don't think I know that. You don't think I know what most of these niggas look like, how old they are, the way that they talk, the things that they say. You don't think I'm aware of that. I speak and present myself in a very particular way. Now, I mean, I chill like this anyways. Like, I ran into somebody yesterday. Shout out that woman from Brum. You know who you are. I always run into her. I ran outside of you, Sainsbury's, and I ran into you at the mailbox. You know, I'm always wearing the same shit for the most part. But when we're talking about the archetype that most of you are used to, this kind of zaps you out of it. The things that I say, you're like, whoa, you know, because what it means to be a spiritual person, people have turned into a personality, into a religion. And I'm trying to show you niggas that I don't fit in a box, and neither do you. Don't try to put yourself in a box in the way that you talk, the music that you listen to, the way that you act, so on and so forth. Because the moment you get put into a box, you're finished. Finito.
Cooked. Fried. Milk.
Nah, because these niggas expect love and light. You know what I'm saying? Namaste. They expect me to talk and act like this and be happy. It's like, don't pay attention to how I say what I say. Pay attention to what I say. Really and truly, it's not even about me. You shouldn't be here for me, and I mean that in the most respectful way. I don't need you here for me. I don't want you to, you know, tell me how I'm amazing and how I changed your life. I don't give a fuck about any of that. I want you here for the information, and that's it. So anything else? Nah, ain't finished, nigga. Yeah, my office is a trap out in South Memphis, nigga. Riding with a fully through the city, nigga.
Someone said, what moisturizer are you using? Baby oil. Got that baby oil on, don't you?
It's just cocoa butter. It's really, really like typical. And I'm quite ashamed, but yeah, it's just
Cocoa butter and some baby oil.
There's no baby oil. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him.
I've seen the bottles, guys.
He's never seen the bottles.
Over 1,000 bottles in this crib.
Over 1,000 bottles. Sick. Number 2, your frequency speaks before you've even spoken. Cool. So, going back to what we said earlier, right? Your frequency is the energetic signature that you emit, so we can associate it with your aura, right? which we can associate with consciousness, self-concept, yada, 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 yada. Your frequency speaks before you even spoken. Now, you think people react to your words, but they don't. They react to your frequency. And that's a bar. Write that down. And this can be extrapolated to a multitude of contexts, right? This can be in the context of relationships. You know, you could say one bar to a girl, it doesn't land. A different nigga can say that same bar and she's like, wow.
Real.
You can say one bar to a particular customer to try to get a sale. It doesn't land. Somebody else can say the same bar and it lands. You could have all the necessary qualifications to get this promotion or this job, and you don't get it. Somebody else with maybe even less qualified than you has an ability to attain it. Why? Your frequency speaks before you've even spoken. Your frequency speaks before you've even spoken. Say it with me. My frequency speaks before I've even spoken. A lot of you don't realize something, and you don't realize the frequency or the consciousness that you're outputting to reality. Let's go back to what I just said about the fear of being seen. When you have a fear of being seen and your consciousness is revolving around thoughts that are thinking, oh, no, I'm shy, I don't want to be seen, or I hope they don't see me, or thoughts that reflect, imply, or resonate with the fear of being seen. You output that to somebody, and then you go try to speak to them, and it just doesn't bang, it just doesn't land. Why? Because your frequency speaks before you've even spoken. Your frequency speaks before you've even spoken. Your frequency speaks before you've even spoken. Me and Angel were playing FIFA the other day, and he was about to get on a call with a potential client. And I said to him, before you go on that call, it's not about anything you're about to say on that call. It's about the state of consciousness that you're entering that call with. That's a client, isn't it? You close that client. Standard work.
My guy.
And it's all about the state of consciousness that you're entering with. Because we make the mistake of attributing causality to reality. I repeat, we make the mistake of attributing causality to reality. There is no causality to reality. There's only causality in consciousness, frequency, self-concept, so on and so forth. To say that another way, we make the mistake of thinking that we can change an effect by changing an effect. You can't change the third dimensional realm by trying to change yourself in the third dimensional realm. You need to elevate to the high levels of existence, which will be the mental plane, the spiritual plane, and alter yourself there, because that is the true realm of cause. Let me break it down like this. You are planting mango seeds, and then you go out into the world thinking you're going to get apples. It doesn't make any sense. If you're planting mango seeds, you're going to get mangoes. What are the seeds that you're planting in reference to the interactions with people that you're going to have? What is it? Are you thinking, oh, they're not going to like me, or they're not going to like me, or they're not going to understand me, or they're not going to appreciate me, or they're not going to see me, or we're just not going to get on, or it's just not going to work? You're planting mango seeds, and then you go out there trying to get apples. Doesn't make any sense. Mango seeds lead to mangoes. When we're talking about your frequency speaks before you've even spoken, I need you to understand something. Don't talk to yourself internally in a way that you don't want other niggas to talk to you. That's a bar. Write that down. What do I mean by that? Most of us don't come to an understanding that part of what I conclude or to be your frequency, an aspect of that is what I call emotionally charged thoughts. Not all thoughts are made equal. So you don't have to panic every time you have a negative thought that these spiritual niggas have made you guys think that it's about your thinking that creates reality. And every time you're thinking, oh my God, what if I get hit by a car right now? Am I going to get hit by a car? And then you just build this paranoia and send yourself into psychosis. It doesn't work like that. Not all thoughts are made equal. Thoughts that have emotion behind them have a think about it like them being supercharged, and those thoughts have a higher degree or a higher likelihood of materializing into reality. So when we're talking about emotionally charged thoughts, when you're thinking thoughts, fearful thoughts in respect or in reference to people and how those people are going to perceive you and how those people are going to treat you, that is what we can conceptualize as inner conversations. And if your frequency speaks before you've even spoken, those inner conversations will find themselves externally to external conversations. Why do you talk to yourself in a way you don't want other niggas to talk to you without coming to the understanding that those people are an aspect of you. We're all interconnected beyond this third dimensional realm due to non-duality. We're all like nodes connected to the same Wi-Fi. We all have an ability to send information back and forth through thought transference. That's what I mean when I say your frequency speaks before you've even spoken. You stepped into the room and someone's seen you and thought, something's off about that guy. Why? Because you're mentally afraid that somebody's going to perceive you as something being off about you. Your frequency speaks before you've even spoken. And then you will have conversations with yourself. You will treat and talk to yourself in a way internally that is absolutely terrible. It's horrendous. And then you're confused why people perceive and treat you along the lines of horrendousness and just, quite frankly, terrible. How else could they have treated you? What else could they have done for you? They can't do anything for you more than you can do for yourself, and that's a bar, write that down. Why will you call yourself an idiot internally and be like, oh, you're so stupid, what were you thinking? And then be confused when people treat you to some degree of resonance with that. Now, bear in mind, this isn't absolving people of their responsibility of just being shit human beings. We're not scapegoating you. I'm simply bringing you to a degree of awareness so you have a capability of understanding that you influence yourself energetically. And energy is the first language that we all speak. And that's a bar, write that down. We just don't feel like it, right? So when we're talking about it, and think about it like this. So internally, right, for somebody to have aura or for somebody to be somewhat magnetic, whether they're aware of this or not, they unconsciously deem themselves as attractive and magnetic. There's some girls that are just like, yo, I'm the lengest thing out here. Or they wouldn't know what leng means if they're not from the UK. How can I say? Sexy, pretty?
Yeah.
Something along those lines. And there's guys that think the same thing. And then when they walk in a spot, it's like people flock to them. Why? It's because their frequency has spoken before they've even opened their mouth. Because the internal conversations that you have with yourself will find themselves outside of you. Because the internal conversations that you have with yourself will reflect how people perceive you. They reflect how people feel about you. They reflect how people treat you. So make sure that the inner conversations that you're having with yourself are along the lines of you being magnetic. How you want people to treat you internally is the way that you need to treat yourself. And that's a bar, write that down. So when you start to say to yourself, you're so smart, you're so pretty, you're so handsome, you're so kind, you're so loving, you're so thoughtful. Once you begin to flood your consciousness with these line of thinking, with that particular line of thinking, your frequency, which you begin to emit to people, begins to change. Then somebody's like, there's just something about you. There's just something about you. I can't place my finger on it. Of course you can't, because placing your finger on it is trapped within the realm of the third dimension. What you're feeling comes from a realm beyond this place. If you want people to appreciate you, when we talk about aura and magnetism, it's this attraction. Why would somebody want to magnetize towards somebody who mistreats themselves internally? Because they can pick up on that. Why would somebody want to flock to somebody who isn't internally confident? Because they can pick up on that lack of confidence externally. It all begins with you. It all begins with you. And let me show you what I mean. We're going to talk about how to work on those inner conversations in a bit more detail.
You're making that board really wet, bro.
Hey man, the best things in life are.
Listen to this comment.
All right.
You're going to love this one.
I don't feel like I'm going to.
They mentioned your favorite rapper. When y'all said about favorite rappers, Drake, Jay-Z, etc., these people are...
Hold on. Let's get our top fives at least correct here. Jay-Z, Nas, Kendrick Lamar, Drake, and I'd either put Gunna or Young Dolph or Nipsey Hussle or Benny the Butcher, for me personally. You?
My top five?
Mm-hmm.
Dave.
Oh, yeah.
Dave goes in my top five straight. Drake. Jay-Z.
Finally, some manners.
I've actually been taking them.
I've converted you, some manners.
Gunna. Who would be fifth? I'll probably say J. Cole, you know?
Yeah, for you it would be J. Cole, yeah.
I'll probably say J. Cole. Yeah, so she goes, these people are vibrating in a low frequency, operating in dark energy. I liked what you were preaching about. I liked what you were preaching, but knowing your music taste makes me think about your own energy frequency and alignment and what you really got going on.
What I really got going on?
Music has frequencies and energies.
Really?
Pretty much spell work through tunes and rhythms, etc.
Wow. What we got going on, AJ?
They got us, bro.
What we got going on? What we got going on, guys?
They got us, bro.
What we got going on? What you want me to listen to music about? Elevated consciousness. Oh, darling, I'm a mix between a nerd, a nigga, and God. That's literally my mixes. I'm sorry to let you down, man. I feel like we just had our spiritual card revoked. You know what I'm saying? And I'll have you know, actually, my favorite type of music is old school R&B. Thank you. Next.
They just don't make tunes like that no more, man.
They don't. God. They don't. You know, girls will often be like, I want that R&B love. I'm like,
no, you don't.
Well, you don't. If you really listen to that music, you don't want that type of love.
I remember when it was exposed to me that the song's dilemma was just not really, it's not the love you want. You got a girl at home.
That's not the type of love they want, that's what I'm saying.
But you know what I'm saying? Here messing with another
These
chick.
are my confessions. Like, you don't want that.
Can't handle that. You can't handle that.
Gotta change my answering machine. You don't want it. Well, you don't want it. All right, cool. So we are. Let me use. Have I used red? I feel like I've got red in my pocket. Yeah, blue and red, lovely stuff. So to kind of piggyback off the initial point that I was just talking about, that people can unconsciously pick up you energetically, we have to come to the understanding that when we're talking about altering our frequency, we're talking about altering our consciousness, self-concept, subconscious mind, self-concept, subconscious mind. The primary, I guess, programmer of the subconscious mind, or the primary alteration of consciousness, or the primary alteration of frequency is emotion. Specifically, emotional intensity. If you want to alter your subconscious mind, it's not necessarily about repetition. You can do it. It's a bit long, innit? It's just a bit long. But what you should be aiming for is emotional intensity. Why? Because emotion is ultimately the true language of the subconscious mind. We see examples of this every day. An individual only has to go through a traumatic event once for their entire perception on reality in their subconscious mind to be programmed by negativity. Now, we can use this in a degree of alteration and understanding the opposite energies. You can use this for the direction of materializing your desired reality, which should be the sole purpose of why you're watching this. Spirituality without the ability to control your reality is nothing but vanity. You know what I'm saying? People would be like, oh, you can't listen to Jay-Z, you can't listen to Drake, and then them niggas aren't living in realities that they want to be. And what's the point of putting on that persona? Even understanding that personality comes from the word persona. Etymologically, persona is mask. It's just a mask. I don't have to wear a mask. You understand what I'm saying? So coming to the understanding that ultimately, the true language of the subconscious mind is emotional. What you should be aiming for is emotional intensity. Now, I've made entire videos on how to program the subconscious mind, but because I like you guys and I'm feeling in a good mood, I shall explain to you how you should go about programming the subconscious mind, or the quickest way to alter your frequency, alter your consciousness, or your self-concept. Now, as I said, you're aiming for a particular degree of emotional intensity. Now, does that mean euphoria? It depends on the type of person you are. Does that mean excitement? It depends on the type of person you are. There is no one size fits all. It's your reality, so it's depending upon your degree of how you would act in that reality. So that may be euphoria. It may be excitement. It may be joy. It may be happiness. It may be, for me, just relaxation. I'm just calm in it. For me, it's just relaxation. Once you have kind of pinpointed which one it is for you, which is going to be personal to you, right? You know yourself. When you get something that you want, how do you feel? Are you like, that was kind of like me smiling, like, you know, euphoric. Yeah. Or are you joyous? Are you happy? Are you relaxed? For me, like I said, it's relaxation. So my degree of emotional intensity, when I'm in deep relaxation, that's me. That's my thing. Now, once you pinpointed it, all you need to do is utilize your imagination to create a scene. Make sure the scene is simple, and make sure the scene implies that what you desire has already happened. So you're looking at it from a past tense. It should also be incorporated with a loved one, because it makes it easier to begin to draw emotion once you see a loved one. So I'll give you kind of like a simplistic overview of how I do it and how I tell my clients to do it. By the way, if you're an entrepreneur, an athlete, or an actor, or whatever, at this point, who even knows? Because I'm working with many different people in all different types of fields of life, and you feel like you have this particular degree of potential that is capped. You just can't break above it, and you want to unleash that potential, then link in the description. I work with actors, I work with footballers, I work with NFL players, I work with 6 to 8 figure entrepreneurs. So yeah, link in the description. But this is what I tell them to do. So I always say to them, you don't want something extravagant, because when you begin to materialize, when you begin to utilize your imagination, you have to understand that to utilize your imagination, it's like drawing upon a mental battery. If your shit is like super, super flashy and you're hopping out the Rolls Royce and somebody's popping confetti over you and somebody gives you a glass of Dom Perignon, like it's all a bit too much and it's intense on the imagination. We don't want that. We want something that is nice and simple and repeatable, because we're not aiming for extravagance mentally, we're aiming for emotional intensity. So I always say to them, imagine a loved one acknowledging whatever it is that you wanted to attain. So acknowledgement from a loved one. That could be them congratulating you. That could simply be them recognizing that you got what you wanted. So, you know, in this instance, when we're talking about aura, this comes down to two things in particular. This comes down to approval and validation. I'll tell you right now, individuals that got no aura require external approval and external validation. I repeat, individuals that have no aura, no ability to magnetize opportunities, have no internal approval and no internal validation. Now, throughout various points of all our lives, there's been times where we haven't had as much internal approval as we needed. So we looked for it externally. There's been times where we didn't have enough validation, so we looked for it externally. And that's an uncomfortable feeling both ways, for the individual that's acting out of that state and the individual that's interpreting somebody in that state. You know, people typically have this disdain or dislike or this discomfort when we can feel somebody's trying to get our approval or somebody's trying to get our validation. It just doesn't feel right. So as I said, it doesn't feel right both ways. So it's about understanding that what we refer to as approval and validation, something that is external, has to be made internal. And the process through which it's made internal is simply what I described over here. So utilizing your imagination to get a loved one to acknowledge you for attaining what it is that you want. Now, this entirely depends upon your desired reality. And this is going to be in direct reference to it. So please extrapolate this to your desired reality, whether this is getting a career promotion, whether it's getting to a certain point in your business income, whether it's attaining a certain role, whether it's being with a certain person or being in a healthy relationship. The issue is you have no ability to magnetize those things because you don't have what it takes to magnetize those things. I'll give you an example. So let's say there's a butterfly. It's really hard to chase a butterfly, right? If you try to chase a butterfly, it's just hard, isn't it? Because it just flies into the air. It's like, it's a difficult thing. But when you have what the butterfly wants, which is a specific scent, that butterfly then comes to you. And this all comes down to the understanding that any time that we are going after something or we're chasing something, we indirectly, unconsciously separate ourselves from it instead of having what that thing wants. There's a chapter in my book And it might be in the description, it might not be. If it's not, then that means it's not out. And if it is, then that means it is. So, but there's a chapter in my book that I call The Desire of Your Desires. You have to understand that on a deeper level, beyond what it is that you want, so that career, that job, what you want is an emotional state. And when you can pinpoint that emotional state and you know it, then you can utilize your emotion to create it internally. And when you internally create it, you no longer need it externally, because once you have it internally, then that will be the scent that attracts the butterfly to come to you. And this is so crazy because I think I was talking on live, on Instagram live the other day. I remember someone asked about how do I have aura, right? And a thought popped up in my head. Anytime that I spoke to any millennial, so me and AJ are millennial Zs. Obviously, we're Gen Z by birth, but mentality will probably more closer to millennials. But anyways, any millennial that you chat to about aura, if you say to them who's had the most aura, consistently the one answer I found is Michael Jackson. My oldest, my uncles, they will not stop talking about how much aura Michael Jackson had.
True.
Obviously, I was born in 2001, so I wasn't really like there when he was there. So they'll make me watch clips. My aunt will hop on the stage and just be like this. And they were telling me that people were fainting from him not speaking.
I've heard the same stories, bro.
Millennials love talking about Michael Jackson's aura.
It's mad.
They'll be like, yo, he didn't even speak and people were faint. They had to bring ambulances because people were just passing out. What?
I was like, what?
I didn't know how serious it was. I didn't know how serious it was until I saw those videos. He's definitely got aura. He's definitely got, he had it, star. He had it. I saw it. There was one stage where he just pops up on like the platform and he's just like this. He hasn't even spoke, hasn't even performed. He's just like this. I'll show you the clip after. And people are like, grown men, grown 6 foot men.
Nah, Michael Jackson built different still.
Built different. And it all comes down to this. You have to understand that anytime we desire a degree of external approval, external validation, this diminishes our aura because we're projecting our aura outside instead of having our aura within. The more aura that you're able to store within you, the more you will set in motion for all those butterflies, which we can conceptualize as your desires, to come to you because you have what they want. But individuals that go out and seek external approval and validation will never get that. Now, how often do you approve of yourself internally? How often do you validate yourself internally? Most of us have this particular state of consciousness that we're not enough or that we're missing something. Your frequency speaks before you've even spoken. Always bring it back to that central point. If your frequency speaks before you've even spoken, if you feel like there's something that you're missing internally, then guess what's going to emanate outside of you? People are going to feel like, there's something off about that person. Or that person is a bit... And the only way you can do that is to utilize your imagination with a loved one. Now, the question that comes to mind is, if I'm using like a loved one congratulating me on being in a super healthy relationship, they've never seen me more happy, or getting that career promotion, or getting that job, or reaching that point in their business, aren't I using somebody external to me? No, because the entire point of generation is within your imagination. You're not seeking it outside of you. Yes, you can use external figures, but because the central breeding ground is internally, you're good. You're good. Another thing to mention, so when I was talking about things that are associated with your aura, and I was speaking about electromagnetic fields, and I also spoke about emotional body, let's kind of merge electromagnetic fields and emotional bodies into one. Because as I said, the more powerful electromagnetic field that we emanate comes from the heart, 60 to 100 times larger than the one of the brain. Your emotional body is thinking about your emotional residue. So if on a daily basis, you're allowing yourself to be, swayed emotionally, to be angry, to be upset, to be frustrated, to be irritated, the base of your electromagnetic field is going to emanate things that are resonant with that degree of negativity. Your emotional body, so your emotional residue that you energetically carry with you everywhere, is not only going to attract people that are complementary to that particular energy, but it's also going to then be taken by the universe and magnified to give you more situations, circumstances, and events that make you feel more frustrated, more annoyed, more apathetic, more sad. So, quite literally, your day-to-day emotions matters more than you think. And the thing about emotions is that they've kind of been led or portrayed to be something that is out of our control. But your emotions aren't out of your control. But you can't control your first thought or your first instinctual kind of reaction, but you can control what happens after that. And so long as you can remember that and you can bring yourself to a degree of central, happiness or joy or love, then you will be you'll emanate an aura that people want to be around. You know what I'm saying? We all know people, like whether family members or friends, when them niggas come around, you're just thinking, oh. And they might not have even spoke, but they don't have to, because their frequency speaks before they've even spoken. So if you don't want to end up like them, make sure that you're keeping your degree of emotional state, your day-to-day mood, in a degree of positivity. Now, is that a call for toxic positivity? And when you're down, to try to act like you don't feel like the way? No, of course, process that emotion and let that go. I have a video on how to deal with those circumstances called, I think so, the 3 T's or something like that, which takes you through a process of internal emotional transmutation, right? It's not about ignoring your emotions, because what you resist persists. You should never ignore your emotions, but you should transmute them. But the only way you can transmute them is if you sit with what's making you feel the way that you're feeling and not try to ignore it. Because more often than not, when we're stressed about bills or someone's pissing us off or something's just not going right, we just try to move on like everything's okay. No, what you need to do is sit yourself in silence and bring whatever's stressing you to the forefront of your mind and confront it instead of avoid it. Because when you try to avoid or ignore reality, you're telling that particular frequency that you are its bitch, because you're running away from it, because you don't have the energy necessary or the frequency strong enough to overcome it. So whatever it is that's stressing you, and I've done this multiple times, I even tell my clients to do this, when bank accounts is getting low and you don't want to look at your bank account, brother, stare at your bank account until all that negativity that you feel comes up to the surface, and naturally, whether it takes you 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, it will dissipate. And when it gets to neutrality, then you have made it easier, because most people try to go from straight negativity to straight positivity. That's too much of an energetic jump. When you go from negativity to neutrality, now you're halfway to positivity. Then it's about shifting your concentration to look for something in your life that can bring you that particular degree of emotional happiness, emotional joy, emotional excitement. And then understanding that concentration is the first step to vibration. Vibration then becomes frequency. Frequency then becomes reality. I feel like I should have wrote that all down on the board, because that was just literally just me speaking. But make sure you go back and kind of catch what I said, because there was some real stuff there.
Man, this is going to be a struggle to read. I see so many spelling mistakes. Someone said, Nero, my Zimbabwean brother.
Yeah, for people that don't know, I'm Zimbabwean. I mean, Nigerians try to say I'm Nigerian. Jamaicans try to say I'm Jamaicans. I had an Indian brother the other day try to say I'm Indian.
That's
crazy. We're going too far now.
I guess it makes sense why there's so many spelling mistakes. Anyway.
Cheeky, don't violate my people like that.
I'm joking, don't come to me.
Pause.
That's ridiculous. Anyway.
You're the one telling them. Okay.
You showed me how to manifest properly. I recently manifested a sale that was struggling to close, with him even wanting a bigger system installed, leading to a higher commission. I basically manifested the most commission I've made to date. I'm so happy and grateful. Shout you out, that's sick.
That's hard. That's
sick.
That's hard. That's real. That's hard. That's fine. One thing that I would like to do personally is actually just thank you. And you didn't even know I was going to do this. That's why you're just staring at me. Come over up here to the front. See you guys.
This guy doing?
See, he doesn't even know. So guys.
Oh shit.
So obviously, this is AJ. You can see that. Don't worry about that. You can see that AJ is a real person, and
I'm not white, by the way. Yeah.
Or a reptilian, or a cyborg, or an AI, or I'm not a ventriloquist. Just and it's him, like it's him. But so we're coming up to the 1 year anniversary of this channel, going from like 4K to like 100K. So of course, that's led to me articulating my thoughts and being able to write a book. And that couldn't have happened without you. Like, honestly, like my frequency and his technicality is the whole reason why this is the way that it is right now. So for anybody that wants to kind of do the same, this is the guy to come to. And I couldn't have done it without you.
This guy, I didn't even know you didn't even mention this at
Yeah,
all.
of course not.
I appreciate you, bro.
I really couldn't have
appreciate
done
it.
it without him. It's actually quite bad though, because I feel like he's about to go on holiday and I've got nothing to do. So it's like, you know what I mean?
Literally flying out Monday.
Like there is no neural knowledge without you, honestly. So don't die, or these niggas won't get no more videos.
Yo, they'd have to make a documentary on that shit.
You know what I'm saying?
They'll probably make up conspiracies as well.
Oh, they'll say I sacrificed you.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
They'll say I sacrificed.
100%. They'll be like, oh, this is why he's able to do all of this.
Cool, guys. So, the final thing for you to understand, I believe it's Psalm 46:10. So the scripture in the Bible, Psalm 46:10, that says, "Be still and know that I am God." The more that you're able to immerse yourself in the godly consciousness, the more you will be above the day-to-day naturalities of reality. So the natural things that go on in this third dimensional realm. So for example, having to have certain qualifications, having to look a certain way for a guy or a girl, having to have these particular strategies or systems in your business to be able to get clients. The more that you're able to transcend that, frequency defies rationality. Frequency defies rationality. Your frequency will make shit that don't make sense make sense. There's people that we know things don't make sense for, but individuals that have the ability to immerse themselves in that degree of God consciousness have the capability of being able to attain that. Now, when we're talking about stillness is aura, I need you to understand something very, very important. The more that you are able to bring yourself to stillness, what this does through meditation, and you can just conceptualize this as just simply sitting in silence. I always tell my clients sit in silence, well, depending upon the client, but let's just say at a baseline, sit in silence every day for 15 minutes straight in silence, right? Don't associate with your thoughts, don't agree with them, don't ignore them, don't try to debate them, don't try to argue with them, don't agree with them, just sit in silence and allow them to go through. Because what you do is that you enter the temple of God. And every time you enter the temple of God, you come back with a stronger frequency. And when we're talking about life force energy, your life force energy is grown by your ability to immerse yourself into that degree of God consciousness, which is that silence. Be still and know that I am God. Before you can know God and truly transcend these third dimensional realm conceptions, you have to be able to be still. Before you can know God, you have to be still. So part of aura is just naturally immersing yourself into stillness, because the more still that you are internally, the less you'll be affected by the chaos outside of you. Now, when the world is chaotic, and this can be in your personal life, this can be things not going your way, and you allow your emotions to be swayed by the external, you allow the external to alter the internal. Now your whole aura is fucked up because your emotions is fucked up. So the electromagnetic field that you emanate is fucked up. The emotional body that you emanate is fucked up. And now, due to the fact that your frequency speaks before you've even spoken, your frequency that you're speaking to people is fucked up. So it's about understanding that the more you kind of dwell in that stillness, the more you anchor yourself when the world tries to get you to swing back and forth. Because if the world can swing you back and forth emotionally, either through happiness or sadness, you'll kind of be like a yo-yo that the universe utilizes for emotion. Whenever it wants some negative emotion, it will swing you that way. Whenever it wants some positive emotions, it will swing you that way. So you have to understand that stillness is very, very important, because the more still that you are, the more you ground yourself internally. And when you're grounded internally, nothing can shake you externally.